Hello you guys, welcome back to another review for Baddies South Season 2 Episode 6. You guys know I don't like to waste any time and I just like to jump right into the review, so let's just get right into it. If you guys know Zeus Network, you guys know they love a good cliffhanger, so this episode started off where we left off last week, which was Natalie going off on the bus, telling the producers to get Chrisean off of the bus because she was upset that Chrisean kept interrupting her. Chrisean to me didn't really seem too pressed to be on the bus anyways. Natalie was having a whole mental breakdown or something outside, screaming, doing the most. But for Chrisean to say that nobody was doing anything to Natalie and that Natalie just went off for no reason when Chrisean was clearly interrupting Natalie, and then when the camera had pointed to Chrisean, you can hear her make like a sly comment saying something like the camera's on me or something of that nature. So clearly she was doing what she was doing to be intentional and to try to get under Natalie's skin. So personally to me, her and Natalie are one and the same in that they're both just trying to be on the spotlight or trying to be the main person. But Natalie gets back on the bus because she doesn't have the power that she thinks she has on the show, and Chrisean didn't go anywhere on the bus. Chrisean is very childish though, but Natalie knew that before Chrisean even came on the show, and Natalie thought it would be good or entertaining television to put her on the show, just up until the point where she couldn't control Chrisean anymore. But moving on past that, Rollie is drunk on the bus and she actually pulls Anne aside and she apologizes to Anne about the fight. Nothing much to talk about there. Moving on, the girls get to the club and the girls did have an audience pulling up to the club, which is pretty cool to see. The girls were having a good time in the club. Blueface pulled up and ended up kissing Slim. Bree and Rollie was patting on her. Basically not a lot happened in the club that we need to see besides just a montage of them kissing, twerking, drinking. Nobody really cares. Moving on to the next morning, we got to see the first ever camera shots of the girls still in bed. Zeus is stepping it up little by little, several shows and seasons later, but maybe Zeus is just a bunch of slow learners. I don't know, I just thought the morning scene was something interesting because we've never gotten that from Zeus. But Scotty wakes up and she calls her friend and they discuss going to this club called Cloud. Basically all the girls are going to be going there later in the night. Nothing else to talk about. Moving on, the girls are getting on the bus to go to Cloud. They're turning up on the bus and Rollie again goes up and speaks to Anne and tells her to come sit in the back of the bus with the girls, because if you guys have been watching the show, Anne pretty much just sits up at the front of the bus all the time. Anytime they go somewhere, she doesn't really interact with a lot of the girls, so Rollie kind of pulled her back there so Anne could be in with all the girls. Rollie was definitely drunk this entire episode, but I do think it brought out a little bit more of her sensitive side. But as Anne is in the back with all the girls, she ends up doing a bus apology and she apologizes to Bree and Persuasion and she admits to being out of pocket. But then Anne in her confessional says that she didn't even know why she apologizes. Anne to me doesn't really know what she wants. She wants to be in the front away from the girls, then she wants to be in the girls' good graces. I think she's just not trying to get beat up again. But the girls finally pull up to Cloud. Persuasion, Bree, and Scotty and Natalie were probably the best dressed in my opinion. Slim being in last and Chrisean was looking like a streetwalker. Chrisean and Scotty in the club, they start making out. There's nothing else to talk about, so moving on to the next day. The next day the girls are getting ready to go. They're all packing up their belongings and Natalie goes and talks to the producers. The producers tell Natalie that the Baddies bus is gone because the girls were too much for the bus. This ends up causing Natalie to get upset and she brings the girls all together to talk about the entire bus situation. Then Natalie starts to say that there needs to be some type of resolution because they can't be turning up like this on the bus because they're going to end up losing the bus. Natalie ends up going around in the circle asking each girl if they're good and if they're okay, and when she gets to Slim addresses Chrisean and says that night Chrisean ended up throwing a water bottle at her because Chrisean wanted to go to the club with Natalie and she couldn't. Slim was calling her out and Chrisean was very quiet, and then Slim ended up taking off her shoes and throwing them at Chrisean. Neither of the shoes hit Chrisean, but then after that Slim ends up running up. I will give Slim this. I do think that Slim has a lot of heart. Neither of them really had a big win. I guess if I would have to pick a winner, I would give it to Chrisean. To me the fight was kind of weak though, but after the fight Chrisean I guess started talking mess to Rollie, and then Rollie was about to go up to her and maybe say something or do something. Then Jela comes from the side telling Rollie not to jump her, and me personally, I didn't really think Rollie was trying to jump Chrisean. I think that after the fight Chrisean was talking her mess and then Rollie was obviously going to say something about it because they were done fighting. I don't even know what Jela was talking about because Rollie honestly wasn't even that close to Chrisean to even jump if she wanted to. You guys know Rollie doesn't like to hear anything, so once she heard Jela telling her something, she was asking asking Jela if Jela had a problem. But Jela isn't scary at all, so when Rollie was asking her if she wants these problems, Jela was already ready. Rollie started walking towards Jela, really aggressive, and Jela just ended up stealing off of Rollie. And I personally don't really think that Rollie was expecting that, because it took her a second to even do anything. And when she was starting to swing, she was throwing open hand slaps, it looked like. From what it looks like, I think that Jela ended up handling Rollie, but we'll see the rest of that fight next week. Next week, it also looks like Chrisean jumps in Jela's fight with Rollie, which is kind of funny because Jela was fighting Rollie over the fact that Rollie was allegedly trying to jump in her fight with Chrisean, and then for Chrisean to turn around and do the same exact thing. I don't know, it was just all kind of ridiculous. I personally don't really think Chrisean needed to jump in. Jela already looked like she was handling that. Next week, we'll also get to see round 2 with Slim and Chrisean, and that's going to happen, and possibly even some drama between Jela and Natalie. Overall, this episode was alright. Even the ending was kind of confusing because you really don't get to see what happened between Jela and Natalie. So it was kind of a boring episode with the high ending note. Again, I always feel like Zeus could just trim their episodes really far down because a lot of this was just boring. We didn't need to see it. But that's just my opinion. Let me know your guys' opinions down below. Don't forget to give this video a like. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. See you in the next one. Bye.